Okay, great. I think it's about time that we get started. So, hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you all, wherever you are, whichever greeting is appropriate for where you are in the world. My name is Marissa Gambardella, and I am the engagement coordinator for Concourse Global. I wanted to thank you all so much for joining. I'm happy to be sharing a bit more about the Concourse Connect Fair Management software, which is what has brought you here today. Just a couple of items for housekeeping. The presentation itself should only take around 30 minutes, and I'm hoping to leave around 10 to 15 minutes towards the end for any questions that you all have. So you should all see a box on the right that you'll be able to pop your questions into throughout the presentation, and then I'll take some time at the end to go ahead and answer them. I'm also going to be circulating a recording of this webinar later in the week to everyone who's registered. Great. So now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into the good stuff. So the Concourse Connect software is something that we developed and launched over last summer with great success. It's facilitated connections between thousands of students and hundreds of universities at a few dozen education fairs over last fall and early this year also. And it's been really exciting to see all of the different outcomes. Our most recent event was just a couple of weeks ago. We actually helped to support the Education USA Fair in Kathmandu, which was a great event. That fair also piloted a completely new feature of Concourse Connect, which are unique and fair specific student registration pages. So the EdUSA office was able to use Concourse Connect really from start to finish. And the feedback that we got from universities, students, and the organizer was really outstanding. It seemed like a seamless event. So since you're here today, I think it's safe to assume you're organizing an education fair over the next year or so, and you're interested in learning more about our software solution and how your event can benefit. So, as you're all aware, organizing an education fair is quite an undertaking. So, hats off to you all. I think you'll find that a lot of the solutions the software offers will be greatly beneficial to your events and would really help to improve outcomes for all of the different participants. So, whether this is the first time you've organized a fair or if you're a more experienced fair organizer. Before I dive in and talk about the fair management software that Concourse offers, I did want to take a very brief moment to talk a bit about Concourse Global, who we are, and kind of a snapshot of our role in the industry. I do think hearing the story behind Concourse really shows how the fair management software is sort of a natural progression for us. I know that some of you are familiar with Concourse and our work, but for those of you who are not, Concourse Global is a larger technology platform that aims to change the way that counselors, students, and universities discover each other and interact. So, in addition to the fair management software, we also provide a free college counseling software that's available to any and all counselors who are working with those students who are looking for higher education opportunities. And we've been around for a few years now, and the platform has grown and developed quite a bit. The Concourse software platform offers an array of features, including organization and different shortlist building tools, as well as document management features, which includes our Parchment integration. We do offer our Parchment integration free of charge, so it's a great resource for counselors who otherwise wouldn't have access to that document sending service, which is Parchment, to be able to utilize it for their students. The platform also allows counselors and students to learn about new institutions and programs in a really unique way. Simply put, Concourse enables universities to discover students and reach out if they think they're a good fit for their programs. And we do this in such a way that protects student data while keeping the student's counselor in control of what messaging the student is receiving. So at Concourse, we give a lot of thought to how students and universities are meeting, how they're keeping in touch, and we're always looking for ways to use technology to improve upon and to perfect those meetings. Of course, being in this realm of working to connect students, counselors, and universities, we were very aware of the importance and the significance of education fairs. We all have a standard picture in our minds of what those fairs look like, and it looks a lot like what we're seeing on the slide here. Whether it's a school gymnasium or a hotel ballroom, the picture is usually dozens of tables draped with different university paraphernalia and students crowded all around. There's usually an air of excitement. Students are pumped, they're excited that they're really meeting and getting the chance to talk with university reps. So, when we were starting to think about how we might use software to enhance the fair experience, we had that picture in our minds and we started doing some research. We took the perspective of all of the different stakeholders involved. So, what was the student experience like versus the university experience, and of course, the organizer? And what we found was that the overall outcomes of fairs didn't necessarily live up to that hype or that excitement. We know fairs are important, and there is all this buildup, planning, expectations that go into these events. So, why don't outcomes match all of those efforts? Well, from the university perspective, attending education fairs, particularly those in the international education circuit, it's just very expensive. They have their travel expenses, things like flights and hotels, and they're often shipping large amounts of view books, brochures, business cards, inquiry cards, that sort of thing. And universities rely heavily on those paper items at these events. And they're not necessarily the most environmentally friendly way to disseminate information. And they're honestly most often discarded by students after the fair. For larger fairs, outcomes can be fairly hit or miss. If you have hundreds of universities, students are doing their best to speak to as many as possible. They want to make contact with as many universities as they can. So conversations are often short, they're cursory, they're not getting in depth. Students spend most of their time filling out inquiry card after inquiry card or frantically typing their contact information over and over into different spreadsheets. It's really a lot of pressure for the students to connect with all of these universities, but most often their time is taken up by making sure the universities can contact them afterwards. Even when students and universities do exchange contact information, follow up is generally fairly poor. After the event, universities have the task of deciphering student handwriting, which can be quite a challenge. They're sifting through hundreds of inquiry cards from their hotel rooms, and often they're only dealing with the basics about the student. They have the student's name, the email address, and maybe a program of interest. And students from there are then typically plugged into a university CRM or communication system, and they just start getting generic email marketing that the university has set up. So those follow-ups are not personal, they're not super relevant to the student usually, and so engagement tends to be fairly low. During the fair, the room is filled with all this buzz of excitement, but afterwards, once that excitement has worn off, few students and universities have meaningful conversations that they're following up on. So on to the most important stakeholder in an education fair, of course, which is the organizer. It's you all. You're putting in tremendous efforts to put together a wonderful, a fruitful event. You're finding a location, collaborating with other counselors, finding university participants. You're often also scheduling information sessions leading up to the main fair. So you're dealing with a lot of logistics to make sure that this event goes off without a hitch. So much planning and coordination goes into it. But after the event, what do you really have to showcase all of that hard work? You often don't have data around the number of students who attended, how engaged those students were at the event. You're not able to see which universities were the most popular among your students or what universities your students are keeping in contact with. There's no way to quantify all of that work or to analyze what was or wasn't successful when you're looking to plan future events. If you recall, when I was sharing a bit about Concourse's counseling software, I mentioned that we think the counselor's presence is very helpful when students and universities are communicating and learning about each other. But after education fairs, any follow up that does happen, it might be happening via email, but also sometimes through WhatsApp or WeChat. And none of those options give the student's counselor that insight or ability to monitor conversations. So often, counselors aren't aware of what students are being told or what information they're being given. So overall, We found that the current setup for education fairs leaves a lot of room for improvement. So that was really our jumping off point. So what is Concourse's solution to improve education fairs? We are a technology platform, so of course the solutions that we offer are going to be more tech oriented, and it really starts with the student. So I mentioned earlier that if your fair does require pre-registration or you wanted to have students registering before your event, we do have those pages that you're able to customize and then utilize those registration pages leading up to your fair. The page can capture any data you need. The questions are all completely customizable. And using those pages to register for the fair also creates the student's concourse account in one easy step. One fact that's blatantly obvious to anyone who's in contact with teenagers is that, like the rest of us, they're very dependent on their smartphones. So that's really where we started. Concourse offers a free smartphone app for students. It's available in both the Apple Store and Google Play. And students simply download the app to create a personal profile. The profile will, of course, include their contact information, the basics that would typically be covered on an inquiry card, but it also has space to allow the students to include information about their academics, their interests, their budget, and achievements. It's really the students' opportunity to showcase themselves to universities. It's really like a LinkedIn profile for students. And this step can be done in advance. So students are able to be directed to download the app via either a registration process or just by the fair organizer. But students can also always create their profile on the spot on fair day, which is one of the benefits of using and having the smartphone app is that it's very accessible. At the fair, when a student is having those conversations with universities, they're able to very easily open up a scanner from within the app and share their profile, including contact information, in a matter of seconds. It completely removes the need for paper inquiry cards, and it really frees up the student to spend more time communicating with the recruiters and learning about universities and programs, and less time, repeatedly writing their contact information. The student's ability to scan using Concourse Connect comes into play in a few different ways at the event. The first being that fair organizers are able to print a unique QR code for their event. These are customizable QR sheets that can be placed at several points at the entrance of a fair, and students would then scan them to check into the event and to register their attendance. These check-in sheets can also be made for pre-fair events like information or lightning sessions. It's a quick and easy way for fair organizers to track attendance at all of these different events. You simply have the QR sheets posted at the entrance of the information sessions, and students just scan when they arrive. So even beyond full education fairs, if you're organizing an information session, a college night, or any other event at your school, you can easily create a QR banner that you can use to have students sign into the event quickly and just easily track attendance. In addition to the check-in QR codes, each university recruiter has a unique printed QR code that they display to students. So throughout the fair, if a student is having a good conversation and they want to share their contact information with a recruiter, they just open up the scanner and scan that university's unique QR code. And the QR code is specific not only to the university, but to that university recruiter. So if the recruiter is Marissa Gambardella at Concourse University, when the student scans, a confirmation will pop up within the app, which allows the student to verify exactly who they're sharing their contact information with. The student then clicks share and connect within the app to finalize that connection and to share their contact. The student is in complete control over who they're sharing their data with. And the university QR codes are reusable. Universities can take them from event to event. And for universities, they simply display the QR code at the fair. And afterwards, we have a portal that allows them to log in and to view and to access all of those connections. So overall, the implementation of Concourse Connect serves to make your event move seamlessly, improving the outcomes for students and for universities. The way the software enables quick connections really helps free up students to have more meaningful conversations with the universities instead of just a few hurried words in between filling out inquiry cards. And for university reps, it's really a no brainer. It reduces their workload tremendously. So rather than spending hours inputting paper inquiry cards into a spreadsheet, they have all of their context collected for them. All they need to do is to show up to the event, to interact with students and have great conversations, and just display their Concourse QR code. For the fair organizer, of course, you have all of that fantastic data available in a dynamic dashboard, which I'm going to show you in just a few slides. Organizers have access to attendance and engagement data that is just typically not there without the use of a software. I'm going to touch on this last point more as well, but student data privacy is something that Concourse takes very seriously, as I'm sure you all do too. The way that the scanning is structured, students are choosing who to share their data with, and they have the ability to confirm who they're sharing that contact information with before they're finalizing any connection. Also, because the connection is digital, there's no concern of an inquiry card with your student's name and contact information being lost or misplaced. Remember, we said earlier that follow-up post-fair is usually pretty lackluster. It's just general information that's being shared via email. It's not necessarily specific to your student or their interests. But when universities follow up using Concourse Connect, recruiters have the opportunity to get a lot more personal in their messaging. So remember, students are able to complete a full profile that they're sharing. Those profiles include everything from grades and test scores to program interests, extracurricular activities, and their budget. All of that information is visible to universities that students have connected with, so their ongoing conversation can be more in depth and more meaningful. And universities are able to easily see whether the student is admissible or eligible for scholarship, so it really elevates the conversation and gets the ball rolling. And for the student, because they have that app downloaded, these messages are going right to their smartphone. We all know how difficult it can be to get students to check their email. So the ability to connect and keep in touch right from their smartphone, it's huge for increasing their engagement. Also, as soon as the student scans to connect with the university, that chat line is opened up right within the app. So the student has the option of reaching out to the university rather than waiting to receive an email. For counselors who bring their students onto Concourse, whether it's for an education fair or other platform services, they have the added benefit of being able to monitor or supervise their students' conversations with universities. You're able to see the questions students are asking, and it's honestly a great way for counselors to learn more about universities and programs they may not be as familiar with. Universities really love the counselor connection. It's sort of passive marketing opportunities for them. They know that the counselor sees the conversations, and it's helpful for them to be able to spread the word about their programs and to build better relationships with counselors. Universities always want to improve their relationships with college counselors. It's again just opening up channels of communication and connection to help improve these interactions from all sides. Of course, a hot topic right now, as it should be, is to be more environmentally conscious and hosting events that are environmentally friendly. And when you use Concourse Connect, you are able to throw more green fairs. Since students and universities are connecting digitally, it completely eliminates the need for paper inquiry cards. And the newest version of Concourse Connect that just launched recently also includes the ability for students to download a PDF of a university's viewbook whenever they scan to connect with them. Universities are able to provide us with whatever materials they'd like to be sharing. And when a student scans them, that viewbook is automatically available for download by that student. So not only does this remove the need for paper view books and brochures, which is more environmentally friendly, it also reduces the overhead for universities. So they no longer need to coordinate more expensive international shipping to get these handouts sent to their hotels, and then they're lugging them to the events and the fairs. Also, we're able to see the open rates of those view books. So we're able to give university reps some more insights into which students are actively downloading and looking at their materials. And it can really help them to target their follow-up and make sure that they're reaching out to students who have demonstrated an additional interest in their university. And from the student's perspective, they aren't lugging around their backpacks to collect all these materials to bring home and show their parents how many university pamphlets they brought home. They'll have them all right on their smartphone. It's much less wasteful since there's no worry of unwanted view books being misplaced or thrown away. So the virtual viewbook download feature is just another way Concourse Connect is using technology to perfect the fair experience for all parties. Which brings us to the organizer dashboard. So this is where all of the moving pieces come together into that all important data. This is of course a screenshot of what that dashboard looks like, but the live dashboard shows you in real time when new activity is happening. As you can see, there are two main columns. The one on the left is showing check-ins. So these are students scanning those check-in banners when they arrive to the events and showing their attendance. And then the column on the right is showing real-time activity. The activities being recorded are student to university connections. So you can see the name of the student, you can see the name of the university, and using the dashboard, organizers are seeing this in real time as students are arriving to their event and making connections with universities. All of this data is, of course, available for export after the event, so you're able to see totals and really get into the nitty-gritty of which universities were the most popular among attendees, which students were the most active, and that type of thing. And normally, this data is simply not available to organizers. And you might find yourself surprised to see there are certain study destinations or universities whose students are really engaging with that you otherwise wouldn't be aware of. Also, if you have those pre-fair events like information sessions, those are listed within the fair itself in the dashboard, and you're able to track attendance at those also. It's a great way to start maintaining data around what topics students are most interested in learning more about. And then moving forward, you can strategize your information sessions around those topics. You'll know if you need to schedule repeat sessions for more popular subjects or to book those subjects in a larger room. Personally, I think having this kind of data is so exciting. And for the first time, organizers are able to see the fruits of their labor. And just as important, you're able to use that data to show your administration or other stakeholders what value has come out of these events that you've planned. Post-fair, there are opportunities for taking that data and making it more visual in the way of a chart or a graph, because who doesn't love a good visual? Here we're showing which universities received the most connections, and it's been broken down by study destination. So it's a great way to take all of that awesome data and make it easily digestible and translatable when you are doing your reporting. So as I mentioned before, data security is something we take very seriously at Concourse. We are fully GDPR compliant, and we use industry best practices to ensure a secure environment for all participants. So data is encrypted both at rest and in transit, and the Concourse QR codes are designed in a way to prevent any type of forgery. Also, the way that students and universities connect using the software inherently puts the power to share that data in the hands of the student. The student initiates and verifies the connection, so they are much more in control of that process rather than simply sending their contact info out in the form of a paper inquiry card. If you do have further or more detailed questions about how we secure data at Concourse, via both the fair management software and the platform in general, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to get that for you as well. In wrapping up, I did want to share with you some kind words a former user of the Concourse Connect software had for us. I talked a bit about the Education USA event in Kathmandu we've supported a couple of weeks ago. We also supported the Education USA event in Kathmandu they had this past September. And last September, we also supported this fair that was hosted within a high school. In this case, it was Saigon South International School, and the event was open to all students in Ho Chi Minh City. It included more than 150 universities from over 20 countries. They had around 1,000 students who attended, and there were 64 information sessions presented in 5 different languages. It was an incredible fair. It was massive, and the organizer, Kelly Braun, she really just blew it out of the water. And using Concourse Connect, she was able to track attendance at her event at all 64 of those information sessions, and she was also able to monitor student interactions. So after the fair, she was really able to visualize and report on the outcomes of all of that hard work that she put in for months leading up to this awesome event. The software has been used at other events, both big and small, since it's been implemented. And Kelly's event, along with the USEF Education USA event in Kathmandu, I mentioned, were actually the first 2 events we supported. So it was a perfect test of the power of the software, and it was great to get such positive feedback. And really, the best feedback of it all was being asked back to support EdUSA's Kathmandu event this month also. So overall, the Concourse Connect software elevates the fair experience for all parties involved. It helps students and universities focus more on the actual conversation and learning stage, and it takes a lot of pressure off the manual sharing of contact information. So it really takes education fairs into the digital age by introducing very simply operated technology. Concourse Connect takes the best parts of an education fair, those interpersonal social experiences, and enhances it by allowing students and universities to focus on those meetings and then perfecting the follow-up that goes along with it. For the organizer, of course, you get all of that data that was previously unavailable to you. And it's great not only for reporting purposes, but again, for strategic planning of future fairs and future events. I do want to be conscious of all of your time today. I hope you found this information to be useful, and I certainly hope you consider Concourse Connect for your upcoming events. I did want to open up the floor now for any questions that might have come in. So let me just open up my email and see what questions that we have. Okay. It looks like we have quite a few questions that came in, so I'm going to do my best to address each of these and give an answer live. But if we do run out of time, I will be following up and answering any questions that I did not get to via email. Okay, let's see. First question, are there any options for students who don't have smartphones? That's a great question. Yes, we do have an option for students who don't have smartphones, and this was actually something we've encountered at the recent Nepal Fair and Education USA Fair. In addition to the student to university scanning, we have built a university scanning tool as well, and we're able to make QR sheets for students that don't have smartphones. So for those, the university can scan the student rather than the other way around. Once a student has created their Concourse account, it's very simple to download a PDF QR code for that student. So the standard scanning method, which is the student scanning the university, is preferred. It keeps control in the hands of the student, but we do offer the reverse scan for students who don't have mobile phones. The scenario is preferable in smaller numbers. So if the event is taking place at a school, for example, that typically doesn't allow students to have smartphones on campus, the best option would, of course, be to waive the rule for the day of the event, so those students who are attending the fair are able to bring their smartphones. The printable PDF is ideally for those students who truly do not have access to a smartphone or a tablet. The students are able to use Concourse, the app, via a tablet. So I hope that answers that question. Again, for this or any question, if you want more information, please, again, feel free to reach out and follow up with me via email. Okay, the next question. Sometimes the internet is patchy where we're holding our event. Does the software require internet? Again, this is something that we've encountered at the event we recently assisted with in Nepal, and it's something that's come up through a couple of different events that we've had that we've helped to support. We know a lot of venues have sketchy internet sometimes, and we don't want that to interfere with the connections. So the student mobile phones will be trying to connect with universities at the moment of scanning, but if it doesn't work, if the student is not on the internet, the connections will just build up on the student's mobile, and it'll keep retrying every 10 minutes or so until it succeeds. So essentially, no, the internet is not required for the software to function properly. Students just need to be logged into their smartphone app using the internet prior to the fair. but an internet connection is not required for those scans to go through successfully. If they're not connected to the internet, their connections will simply upload and go through once they have internet. Let's see. Okay, someone says I'm interested in using the app, but I have a question. Which fees are to be paid? Is it paid per user or per attendee to the fair? So Concourse Connect is a free software product. We don't charge, we don't have any cost associated for fair organizers, for universities, or students. So our company, Concourse Global, we make our money by charging universities a monthly subscription to be able to discover and engage students they have not met in person. So in pursuit of their recruitment objectives, any remote recruitment that they're doing. And of course, those engagements, those messages are subject to review and oversight by each student's counselor. So we do offer recruitment services to universities that are separate from fair management software, similar to how we have a counseling software that's also separate from the fair management software. But yes, the Connect software is a completely free product. How do we access the Concourse Connect software? So the Connect software, the Concourse Connect software is built right into the current counselor platform. So for those of you who do have Concourse accounts, you can find it just by clicking into the Fairs tab, which is on your counselor homepage. And within the counselor account, we also have student and university short training videos that you can share that show how the software works. If you don't have a Concourse counselor account, the process to get one is very simple. You can visit our website, which is concourse.global. And I believe after the end of the webinar, you would get automatically redirected to that page also. And then right from the homepage, you'll see a button to create your free high school counselor account. It is 100% free to create your counselor account on Concourse. And if you have any questions or need help getting that set up, please reach out to me. Again, I'm happy to help. Okay. A lot of good questions. So would I, as the fair organizer, need to print each QR code per university attending, or would they come with that? So currently, the fairs themselves are able to be completely self-service. So fair organizers can create the event from within the platform. They're able to download the check-in QR codes. And then universities are also able to easily create accounts and then download their QR codes individually as well. That being said, we are fairly hands-on with fair organizers. So we can provide text for you that you can share with universities you're inviting to your event. We also have text that you can share with students that explains how the software works and how they benefit from it. And we are also able to provide those university QR codes for you. So you don't need to rely on universities to bring them. You don't have to worry about them as they're shuffling from hotel to hotel or city to city, finding a business center and printing out their Concourse QR code. We provide a lot of support to fair organizers to ensure that the events run as smoothly as possible. That's really the goal of the Concourse Connect software, is to enhance fairs. So we know those events take a lot of effort, so we'd like to be as helpful as possible. So it would be very simple for us to provide the QR codes to the fair organizer in advance, and then you'd be able to print them and have them, ready to go on the university's tables before they set up, or you're able to easily kind of give them out to universities as they arrive. Let's see. Okay, do parents have access to Concourse? So no, currently parents do not have direct access to Concourse. There's no parent portal where parents are able to log in or to monitor their child's account. They can't see the information the students are inputting to their profiles. So the only way a parent would be able to view their child's profile or connections or to see conversations would be if their child was showing them the app. If they kind of opened it up and said, "Here, mom and dad, here's my Concourse profile." There's no separate portal for that. If I have fair attendees who are not universities, can they use Concourse Connect? Another great question. Yes, we have had different companies like Pearson or organizations that operate summer or gap year programs that have attended events that have used Concourse Connect. And we typically just create an account for them that operates as a university account. They're able to use Concourse Connect to collect the contacts of interested students, just like a university would. And then they're able to follow up with them through the platform. So yes, if your event does have other vendors, we are able to support that. One thing I will say is that in order to create a university account, we do require that a recruiter uses an institutional email address when they create their account. So, for example, if someone is requesting a Concourse University account from UCLA, the email address would need to include at ucla.edu or whatever their handle is. And we have this requirement to ensure that universities who access the platform are truly working directly for that university or for that institution or third party. Okay, let's see. Can we use this for just a basic high school visit? So essentially, if you're a counselor and you have a group of universities that are coming through town and they want to visit your campus, can you use Concourse Connect? Yes, you absolutely can use Concourse Connect for basic high school visits like this. If you have your students already set up with their Concourse accounts, all you would need to do is have the universities prepped beforehand. So you just let them know that you'll be using the Concourse Connect software and you can explain how it makes their life a million times easier. And they just need to either get set up with a Concourse account, or if they already have an account, they just need to display the QR code when they are there visiting with students. Just like for full education fairs, universities are able to print and bring their own QR codes, or we can share them with you beforehand for easy printing, and you can just have them ready when the university arrives. You can also create the event within the counselor platform. You download the event QR code, and you can use the dashboard to track attendance and engagement at the visit as well, at the university visit. Okay, everyone, just being conscious of the time, I do think that's all I'll answer live. Anyone who has submitted questions, and I see that there are some I haven't replied to yet, I will be following up via email. Also, if anything comes up after we've wrapped and you have any additional questions or you'd like to complete a one-on-one call where I can learn more about your upcoming event and how Concourse Connect can work with you to maximize your outcomes, I'm very happy to do that as well. Overall, we're very optimistic about the use of Concourse Connect and the impact it's made so far at the fairs where it has been utilized. It's certainly an exciting time for us, and I really look forward to the opportunity to speak to and to work with you all. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and I thank you so much for joining.